I did not mean to do that. Oh, crap. Okay. So apparently I'm live and I forgot to. I didn't mean to go live. But, anyways, let me hurry up and send out this invite. It's it's muscle memory. Like, without even thinking, I just immediately clicked it. Let me try to get Sean on here. Not sure how quickly he'll respond. We'll see. And all right. So did that. Yeah, I didn't mean to go live. Until then, what can I say for this Friday's Masterminds Volume 148? Mm, I don't have any time to work on my passion project. None. I have the weekends, but I'm too burned out, and I don't want to spend all my time writing code. Like, I'd rather just work on my passion project when I'm unemployed, aka in between assignments. And here's Sean.
Heyo.
Oh, I almost forgot. I was getting ready to try to knock off 1 mile and then maybe try to do some pull ups and some dips. That would be a stretch goal. And I was like, I don't know. What as soon as I mentioned next Friday, I'm like, holy crap, it's Friday. Uh,
It is Friday. It's Friday. Throw on the Rebecca Black and jam out.
who's Rebecca Black?
No. Did you ever see that song on YouTube for it's called Friday. It was kind of a meme that went around for a few years but now every Friday I kind of think about it. Um, it's just like I don't know how to describe it. You'll just have to watch it sometime.
Okay.
But yeah, just look up Friday Rebecca Black on YouTube. Um, it yeah, it's just kind of like it's I don't know if it's auto tuned and it's like a highly produced teen film. She's actually like trying to be a real singer now, and she is. I mean, she's better than many people, but it's just like the lyrics are awful. Like, anyways, yeah, some to watch. So
Is there a condition? I don't think it's depression. All right, because I think depression is like you're sad or something. Maybe, I don't know. I guess there's different spectrums of depression. But is there a condition where like you just want the day to be over, so you purposely like go to sleep and hope to wake up the next morning because you're done with the day, but it's like early, like 7 o'clock or something in the evening, and you're like, I don't want to deal with the rest of this day. I just want it to be over. But you end up developing a pattern of purposely going to sleep early, hoping to just start a new beginning for a new day.
I don't know if there's a name for that. I guess I'm not like 7 p.m. You go to bed. Like you're
And
like I'm done with this day. I'm gonna go to bed.
I've been
Probably
developing
tired, I
I've
suppose.
been developing a temperament where like I just want the day to be over. Like I, there's nothing I think is meaningful to do with my time, and as a result, I just want to like not just be idle with my thoughts. So I just try to like close my eyes, and hopefully when I open it back up, it's a new day, new beginning, and I'm motivated again.
Hmm. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if there's a condition, but it sounds like you're uninspired or um, yeah, uninspired would probably be the term.
Yeah, it's been happening for a while now, and of course, naturally, I wake up at like midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm up. I'm like, oh god. And then I'm just in my head, and
That's when
then
you
I'll
should be doing all your
beach
crazy work.
delivery.
Then
Uh,
yeah, just
well,
going like that.
I do, except it's not beach delivery. I just start designing crap for my gainfully employed job, and then of course by the time it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon at work, my mind is done. Like just because I probably burn like a
12
thousand
hours on it.
calories.
And yeah.
I burn 1,000 calories in my brain just working. So people should be able to lose weight based on the amount of calories they burn in their brain of just processing.
Isn't that why I heard something about like our brain sizes got were able to get bigger because we started cooking food so our stomach didn't have to use as much energy or something like that to digest or something like that. That's kind of
Mm,
weird.
I'm sure over probably the past 40,000 well, not 40,000 years. Can evolution really like okay, can is evolution really designed to take into consideration a mere 500 years of living conditions or changes in living conditions?
I I think so. Um, I've heard that people are generally taller now than they were 500 years ago on
Well, I
average, but I
mean,
don't know if that's. And then like what's like selective breeding or interbreeding? How does that change? Between races and all of that
well,
stuff.
what I meant was like, for example, hunting and gathering, right?
Hmm.
Um, I I would guess, and it probably shows my ignorance. How did humans in general get food? It's one thing if they grew food, then they probably don't burn as many calories, or maybe they do. I don't know. If they don't have an ox, then they just have to do things the hard way. I don't know anything about agriculture. I don't know when the musket was invented, but before that, I'm curious when people used to have to like run down uh, their prey or their or animals, right? Because I think that's one of the things that distinguishes us from probably 99% of creatures is we can condition ourselves to run for miles and run down our prey. Similar to the wild African dogs, right? That's why they have like a 90% kill rate. Make a long story short, is within just 400 years, is it possible for our digestive system or our brain to adapt where it stores more or less fatty tissue or whatever fatty deposits just within 400 years of a lifestyle change
Uh,
where now food is brought to you
yeah,
versus you
probably
having
not.
to chase it down and your your father, your father's father, your father's father, like all your ancestors for the past 400 years were conditioned to chase things down to eat, and it was just their living arrangement. It was their lifestyle, and now we just sit around hunched over in front of screens.
Yeah,
Is that enough time for evolution to like make modifications to genes?
yeah, probably little ones, but I don't know that it's big. I mean, and the idea that it hasn't is a huge, I think, idea behind the the paleo or the primal diets. Um, that whole select movement, is that we should be eating like our ancestors or whatever. Um, Also, there's bow and arrows, which also negated the need to run down and prey, probably. Um,
Point taken. Bows and
but
arrows were though. I mean, that was Native American, right?
no, I think pretty much every um, civilization has had bow and arrows.
Nah. Africans, I'm almost positive use spears, right?
Yeah, spears too. I mean, spears as well. But I mean, you look at just watch any movie that tries to accurately depict anything in
Okay,
the
okay, okay,
BC
okay.
era, and
That's
it's
interesting. So the New World, hence North America, South America, the indigenous people, right? Include the Mayans, right?
mhm.
Aztecs, those people that I see in movies. And then the Europeans of medieval times, they both conceived the bow and arrow.
Yeah, and the Chinese did,
But
and
how's that
everyone in the Middle
possible?
East did, and
But how's that possible?
because
Like,
it's not a complicated thing. It's like a piece of wood that's bowed out with a string, and it creates tension,
I
and you.
understand what a bow and arrow
Okay,
is, but what what is the likelihood
it's not a
that
hard thing to invent, though. It's like
it's
I
not a
think
hard
if
thing
you.
to invent, but what's the likelihood that that different like breeds of people that are separated by oceans would conceive the same like invention?
I
With
think in this case they would. It's like the wheel. Like it just it naturally like comes about. Like I I think if you put kids like took kids that never saw the world and just put them like on an island together and then gave them certain like tasks, they would just invent these things. Like you need to kill this guy from a range. How are you going to do it? Well, I'll throw a rock and but I can't throw that far. What am I
yeah,
going to do?
but
I
so
need
for
to make a
example,
machine that will
yeah, but
slingshot it.
Native Americans never had a sword, right? That was a European thing.
Oh, I'm sure that the Native Americans had swords.
No, no, no.
Some of them had to
The
have had
the
swords.
the Japanese the Japanese had swords, right? The hence the samurai and medieval folks they had swords. But the New World they didn't have a concept of a sword, and I would bet Africa had no concept of a sword either. I don't even
Yeah,
think they had concept of a machete until the white man came over to Africa and enslaved them and brought them over to the New World.
it could be that they fighting weapons.
So like to me, a sword would come before a bow and arrow.
Yeah, I mean
Yet the bow and arrow goes across
they
different
just.
breeds of humans, but the sword didn't.
Yeah, well, I think the sword. I think they likely had the concept of a sword. I just don't think that they found it maybe as useful as maybe the other weapons that they had, clubs and hatchets and things and tomahawks. Because yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming because it's a sword is literally just they had knives. A sword is literally just a really long knife. I mean, if you should take it.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm assuming that they had that capability. Just probably it could be that maybe there wasn't enough. They didn't have enough mining to get metal to produce it, or maybe that just wasn't developed. Who knows? Well, they were mining gold, so I really don't know.
Well, they were
That's
mining
a good
gold,
question.
but they
I'm sure
weren't
that there's somebody
not for
out there that
weapons
can
though.
answer.
They were using like stone to create shanks, right? They didn't have knives.
Yeah,
They had shanks. Well, yeah, they had knives, but I mean that stuff was out of stone. Whereas the
yeah,
medieval
obsidian or
folks, they were
whatever.
like they were the people with the last name Smiths, right? Locksmiths, like they were the ones fabricating or doing metal work.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's somebody out there that's written a paper on medieval or like Native American weaponry and how it differed from other areas of the world. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's the history of the ancient world is interesting, anyways. Though, like how did all this stuff come about? And I don't know.
I wonder how often aliens came down and messed with them, like back in the day. It still boggles my mind that people that report seeing aliens still can't catch it on the cell phone.
Yeah, there's a well, that's because the aliens are smart enough not to get caught.
And it's the same
Um,
story about people that have divine intervention. Well, they're always alone and they can't record when it occurs so that they can prove it to other people. But
well, yeah, well that one's probably more reasonable actually because the conception of a divine intervention is that's all more metaphysical, spiritual, and probably wouldn't manifest on a physical plane. Whereas aliens, the concept of that is completely on the physical plane. You should be able to record it. So yeah, but yeah. Anyways, imagine how our kids will evolve though. It'll like 10 generations from now, everybody's necks will be able to like rotate like this so that they can look at a screen and then back. It'll be like whoop whoop, and their eyes will be
no,
really big so that they can take in like more. Their heads will be big and their bodies will be tiny and scrawny.
Perhaps, but I think by then there will be contacts. How you say it? Context lens. I can't pronounce contact. Is it context or contacts? It's contacts, right?
Contact, yeah, because it's
Yeah,
contacting your eye.
yeah. So I would think they'll have contact lens that have like programs running in it,
Yeah, I
and
suppose
everybody will be staring at porn.
it'll be the
Yeah.
Oculus Contact, Meta Contact, Metatact. I don't know. So, well, today's my last day of work for a week. So, I've
Really?
been, yeah, I hate
What are
it
you
because
gonna do?
oh, I going to Florida next week for Orlando or whatever.
I
So,
might come up there if your wife doesn't trip.
yeah, she'll trip.
Okay.
They have they have pretty much the whole damn thing planned out from beginning to end with very little leisure time. Go here, do this. Go here, do this. Go here, do this. All right, now time to go home. So,
Yeah, I'm waiting for my one of my bikes to be delivered so I could um do partial break-in period driving up to Orlando or something or the Space Coast.
hmm, but
I think it's taking forever, man.
I'm gonna try to sneak away for a little bit to get some runs in because I don't want to take a whole week off of running. But I have a half marathon tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah, it's gonna be raining and like 50 between 40 and 50 degrees too. So it's gonna be fun.
And you already paid your money. How much it cost? Like 30?
I don't know. I
You don't remember
I
paying for
I
it?
yeah, I bought it in the winter sometime, along
Yeah.
with a bunch of other ones. But it's luckily I don't have to travel very far. It's just like north of here, like 10 minutes. So I know it should be a good track and all that. And I've got some base layer stuff and jacket or whatever I'll wear, so it won't be too bad. Got to do packet pickup tonight and run it tomorrow. But I haven't run since I ran a 5K my fastest time, which is like 29 minutes or something um, earlier in the week. But I haven't run other than that this week. Just kind of letting the joints repair. Ran 9 miles last Saturday and 6 last Friday and 3 the day before that and
Uh,
overdid it.
I was in Toronto and I couldn't get anything done. It was just too cold. And I'm like, F this. I need to go home so I could like maintain discipline and do my like morning runs. So I mean, I've been doing it consistently, but I just fell off, man. I had my peak was consistently knocking off 2 miles every day, Monday through Thursday in the mornings before I would go to work, and now it's like a mile. Like it's just it amazes me how much like either getting sick or not running for like a week can completely disrupt like your conditioning. Like it's just I know I need to man up, but I feel like if I try to man up, I'm going to injure myself even worse. So I'm trying my best to listen to my body so I don't destroy it.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why you were having a lot of knee troubles and stuff. Because if you're trying to run 4 miles a day or whatever, I mean, that's quite a bit for a week.
No, it was 2 miles a
Like you
day.
gotta,
Then I
oh,
walk back.
yeah, you gotta like build up. You gotta build up your. I don't know, I've been having a little bit of
Yeah,
knee
I've been
trouble.
running for a while though,
Oh,
right?
sure, sure, yeah.
Like
Mm.
I got two medallions from half marathons. I've been running for a while. It's just I think age and just uh, a significant imbalance with my muscles, where like the front of my legs are like conditioned, but my back of my legs are like have almost no muscle at all. Like I can't squat 135. I can't do it. That's how bad it is.
Interesting.
Like my arm, I don't know if it's my arms, but my chest is stronger than my legs. So
Hmm. Yeah, there is a. So at the gym, I've been using one of the machines that like you put your legs out and then you kind of pull them back like that.
hmm
Man, that is like the one that I feel the most if I do it because it's like how much often do you ever work that muscle back there? You know, where it's pulling your leg back like this.
Only when I get a hamstring, or
Yeah.
only when I get a Charlie horse.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, for me, I guess that I've got to like let my leg out and keep my leg or my foot back like this as far as I can to try to prevent it from hurting. Oh God, waking up with cramps in your legs is the worst. But anyhow, yeah. So hoping to run it in less than 2.5 hours tomorrow. Um, Preferably less than 2.5 hours. See where my pace gets set or where I land. Feel like every time I've done like a running event, I go ham for way too much for the first few miles, and then after that
The wall.
you hit the wall and it's like, okay, I'm gonna go 9-minute miles for the first three, and then you're like, and then it's like 13-minute miles from there on. I might
Yeah,
try one of the pacers though.
I run with this Italian, and he just takes off during our morning runs, and I'm like, this is not helping me. Like, but I feel like I have to keep up with them. Like, and I just tap out like after the first mile. I'm like, yo, just keep going. I'm gonna go do my own pace now.
Yeah. Do you
And
ever
I'm
track
like,
your pace, like what your times are and
nah,
stuff like that?
no, because I'll be disappointed.
I mean I am like I sit somewhere between a like 9 and a 12-minute pace. Like I'd probably average somewheres around 11 or 10 and a half, somewheres in there. So, but like if you wanted to, let's say, run Boston, like you have to run to qualify, you have to do, I think, like a just slightly over 3 hour marathon. So, what is that?
12 miles an hour.
No, it's the Boston Marathon qualifying is you have to do it for my age group is 3 hours and 5 minutes for men. Maybe I could maybe I could maybe I could try to become a female so I can do it in 3 hours and 35 minutes
You
instead.
should.
So you got 3 hours and 35 minutes or 30 whatever, and then it's what 26.2 miles is that. So if you do like a 6 minute mile, it's 156 divided by 60. It's 2 hours and 62 minutes or 2.6. I don't know. I can't do the math on this that quickly, but it's like you have to do a sub 7 minute run time. So um,
Uh-oh. You
yeah,
there?
yeah,
Oh, I thought your thing froze for a second.
no, no. So it's like yeah, you have to do like a sub like 7 minute mile for the entire pace of the thing. It's like gosh, I don't know if I'd ever be able to run that. Um, I don't know if I like physically I could. It doesn't really get much better with age too. So I guess when you get to 65 to 69, you can do it in 4 hours. So maybe if I keep at it when I'm in my 60s, I might be able to make it.
You don't even have to do that. You can just self-identify as a senior citizen.
If I can become an 80-year-old female, I can do it in 5 hours and 20 minutes. But still, that's hard. Like I'm assuming that. Well, okay, no. So if I could do a half in two and a, if I could do a half in 2.5 hours or less, I should be able to hit a 5 hour mark for a full marathon.
You ever wonder what the limits are for what you can self-identify as?
Um, yeah, no, I don't
Like,
really think about that at all.
I do, because I'm like, man, my life would be so much easier if I self-identify as a white person. Like, like who wouldn't, right? And so, like, why is it only applicable and accepted by society to self-identify as a alternative gender, but I
Well, th-
can't self-identify as Japanese or as German?
well, there was a
I,
guy. There's a guy who did he decided that he was going to be African. He's a white guy. He decided he was going
Oh
to
boy,
identify
that's
as
not gonna go
African
over
American.
well.
Well, yeah, he got blasted
Yeah.
and all that. But then was it one of the prominent? Um, I think it was one of the prominent black podcasters or something like that came out and said, "Well, if we're going to allow people to do this, why are we digging on someone for doing it?" Like, and so he's like, and okay, fair enough. You're black now. Go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a I guess I don't know. Maybe this is like I don't know. Maybe there's some higher level thinking here that like when you get onto the idea that we live virtual lives and stuff like that, where you can project anything you want. Are you frozen now?
I'm here.
Oh, where you can project anything you want. I mean, maybe that's where it's like our mental takes over and is trying to separate itself from what our physical form is, and part of that is just purely identity, the way that we try to
Well,
identify ourselves or label
it
ourselves. I don't know.
is it really identity, or is it really we're trying to project people to accept us for how we want to be accepted,
I have
right?
no
And
idea.
I mean that's kind of like, oh, Scott, you're twisting the words. I don't think I am, right? It's does someone, and maybe I am twisting the words. Does someone want to be treated as a woman because they sincerely believe they're a woman, or do they feel that based on the social groups that they would like to belong to, it's easier
No,
if
I
they
think it's the
identify
former.
like, okay, so have you ever heard of, is there such thing as a loner that self-identifies as something that they're not biologically, or
Probably.
a hermit, or do they always have some type of social like association to another group?
I get what you're saying. So if somebody was isolated,
Hmm.
would
Somewhere
they
in Alaska with nothing but bears and beavers,
yeah,
and
would they
that's it.
ever yeah, that's actually a pretty good question. Like, would they ever feel the need? Because they could just be like, yeah, I'm a woman, whatever. But like, would they change how they look? Would they try to like,
And
would they
and
try to become a yeah?
I believe the answer is no.
So
I
yeah,
believe
okay,
it's literally like, again, I obviously I don't have any
yeah. I mean,
families
it's
or friends. I mean, I did work with somebody that went through a I don't know what the formal name is, a transition. I don't know,
mhm.
but I honestly believe that if someone lives in the middle of a desolate island that's like 1 mile long, would they still self-identify as something else biologically? And I sincerely believe the answer is no. It has everything to do with what they want from society. It has nothing to do with them being alone in the world, isolated. Would they still behave that way? And I don't think they would.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose what because it would be like I'm like if you felt that you were female but you're male, like I'm trapped in this male body. I like yeah, but like why
Part of
would
that
you
I
have the
could
need to change
understand.
anything? I guess you
Well,
could just but then at the same time if you just dress however you want to dress, it's like you could dress in skirts and stuff and nobody's going to care cuz you're alone. So yeah, I wonder if there is a huge social aspect to this or societal aspect to it. Yeah, I think you're onto something there. I don't know though. I don't know anything about
I need to
really
hurry
this
up and
topic.
post it on Twitter as soon as Elon Musk owns it so I don't get banned. Uh,
They've been like unbanning and cleaning up a bunch of their stuff.
they let Trump back
From
on.
what I understand, not I don't know, not yet. I'm kind of hoping he does. It's I don't know. It was
I
a
honestly
lot more
think he's going
fun
to be
when he was
president
on there.
again.
Yeah, we'll see. Um,
Well, I'm not saying I want him to be. I'm saying I honestly think he will be.
yeah, yeah. I I think he probably. Well, I mean, he's gonna run. I don't know. Um, you're assuming he's not supposed to be president right now, of course. So yeah. Oh, I can't say that either. I'll get banned for thinking that there was voter fraud. But anyhow,
Yeah. So I can get s- being trapped in a body.
yeah.
You want to know why? Because
Because you are distinct from your body. Yeah.
well, because I identify the same way, right? I mean, I don't identify as like another gender. Uh, at times, I do wish I was like Asian or white. Just I feel like, I mean, it may be my ignorance, but I just feel like things would be so much easier for me in the way I grew up. But it's more of I spent the majority at the time, right? When I was like in my 20s, I spent the majority of my life being normal, being normal height, right? Um, so like normal height, I would say as a someone that's like maybe 14 or 15, it's like I would assume it's probably like 5'6", 5'7". I would assume. I don't know. And I was just like everybody else. I just had really, really, really big feet.
Hmm.
So I was like 5'7", wearing a size 14 shoe, right? And so I spent the majority of my life just like everybody else within the same height or frame. And then like within 1 year, I shot up from like 5'7" to like 6'4", 6'5".
That
But
must
I
have been
didn't.
painful to grow
It
that much in 1 year.
it was awkward,
Yeah.
right? And so when I say yeah, like my mind was trapped in a different body. I still felt mentally, I'm just like everybody else, physically, height wise, but I was inside of an avatar. I was in the avatar of a 6'5" frame, and it's
Yeah.
unnatural to me. So I think that's a huge disconnect that people don't take into consideration, especially when someone is like a teenager and they start just hitting a massive like freaky growth spurt that person's mentally is still inside of a normal body. Like their mind hasn't adapted yet. So I think I could understand like people that mentally believe that they're in something else. I think the difference is they were never in that body from the get go,
Yeah. They,
and I
you know what?
was.
It'd be kind of that's just the thought, because there's been variants on this in movies, but it would be kind of interesting to play around with like a movie or a book where people have the capacity to swap, just basically just swap bodies. Like, hey,
Oh, I'll
you
get
don't
laid. I'll
want to
get laid
be
all the time.
you don't want to be this black guy anymore, and I don't want to be this white guy anymore. Let's just and so there's like a machine or something that swaps your
Well,
consciousnesses
that was the
into.
movie. That was that movie from like 3 years ago, right?
What was that one?
The
Maybe I
the
gotta watch it.
Oh my God, the movie where the older white people were kidnapping black people and doing a surgery, having surgery done so that they could have their bodies but maintain their mind.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
forgot the
that's
name
a
of the movie though.
yeah.
Um, I can't. You know what I'm talking about, right? It was
No, no, I can't. I don't. That one's not coming to mind. But I get the
Get Out.
idea.
The,
Is
the
like,
name of the movie was called Get Out.
oh, Get Out. Okay, all right. Yeah, that was was that's Jordan Peele, I think, did that one. It was like a was it like a thriller or a horror film?
It was like a suspense movie or
Yeah, suspense.
something.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The but yeah, I mean, I've that's a little bit different. I'm thinking more of like the maybe dollhouse concept, or I think there's been other ones like a Freaky Friday. Maybe, but people like do the whole body swap thing. I'm in your body, you're in my body type thing. But it's like a choice, or there's a way to accomplish it. Like, you could imagine though that there'd be consequences like that. Like, people would abduct people to take their bodies so that they could be younger or whatever, and
Yeah.
they'd swap their old ass body for a young body, and then like the young people would end up dying, and it's like at a really young old age. So, but yeah, you're conscious. I mean, imagine conscious swapping a baby into an adult body too. Like,
Oh, that baby would get taken advantage of like crazy.
yeah, like what would happen if you
It,
body swapped into like that would just be that could almost be comedic, I bet.
no, it wouldn't. That baby would more than likely, and I'm being very serious. Like if a baby swapped into an adult body, that baby would be a sex slave.
No, no, yeah, but that's only if somebody's taking. I'm just saying in isolation. Let's say you've got somebody who's like 30 and a baby, and you swap their bodies. Like, how would a baby respond to having suddenly their entire physiology changes,
I know,
and they're like, ah! you
a
know?
retard.
Well,
Like I mean, people don't like that term, but like based on Webster's dictionary, that's I think that's what the baby would be because it's not fully developed
yeah,
mentally or physically.
I suppose it would take a while to get used to the physical thing, but you technically, I don't know if you have more brain power then. I don't know. That's actually maybe a good thought experiment of just
So a
like
baby, I
if your
think what
consciousness isn't tied to your like physical self, if you are distinct from it, then how come what would happen if you transferred a baby into like it seems like it's tied to your physical progression. Anyways, you were saying?
so one of the characteristics of a baby is a baby doesn't know how to communicate what it wants, right?
Yeah,
And so hence that's why they start throwing tantrums. So that's one thing that an adult with a baby's mind would do: start throwing tantrums, grabbing your hand and shoving it towards the fridge or shoving it towards the remote or something like that. The other part, so that's one attribute of a baby. I think the other attribute of a baby is a baby doesn't a baby is almost a clean slate when it comes to being programmed. Like a baby more than likely hasn't really experienced harsh rejection over and over and over like normal human beings have, whether it's for like physical attraction or it's hi, my name is, adult. Like they just can't go around to random people just wanting to say hi. A little kid can.
hi.
A grown adult,
Yeah,
depending on the dynamics of culture, they'll get freaked out. Like they'll get very uncomfortable. So I think that's something else that will occur is a a baby's mind put inside of a grown adult will not understand the cultural norms of why society thinks it's not appropriate to randomly walk up to people and want to play
sure.
or walk up to strangers and want to play.
Yeah, they haven't learned the head nods yet. You ever? I somebody pointed this out. I think it was on a TikTok or something. But have you ever noticed how if you're head nodding, like people who head nod, like men do it all the time. If it's
Well,
somebody you know, you do an uptick. But if it's somebody you don't know, you do kind of like a down tick or like a down like hey Scott, how's it going? Versus
I don't think I've ever did a down tick.
like somebody's driving
Like,
by and you're just like
no. So I'll be in
hey,
a predominantly like, I'll be at
versus
a,
hey
I'll be
versus
at a white bar. If I
mm.
see a black person I don't know, and it's like,
Maybe that is a culture. Like, so if somebody were to if somebody like table down were to you know, I don't know, buy a round of shots or something, like I would turn and be like, yeah, down tick, but I wouldn't be like, hey,
I don't,
unless I know the person. Then it'd be like, hey,
yeah, I don't think I've ever done the down tick. Like, I don't,
you gotta
it's not natural to me.
you gotta
It's
watch
always,
it.
and
Maybe,
you always
yeah.
have to make a smirk. You always have to like use one of your cheek muscles, like.
So you never do the, like especially if
No,
like you're.
it doesn't even feel natural.
Hmm.
No, I don't think I've
So if
ever done
somebody was
that.
driving by and like waves out the window, you'd just be like, versus,
Yeah,
okay, maybe
yeah,
it's a white guy thing.
it
I don't know.
or it's just regional or something.
Oh, it could be. Yeah. But I
Like for
figure it's
example,
like this is an open versus closed, so you're still
like
defensive, I'm assuming. It's
so
probably a yeah, go
in
ahead.
like the Midwest, at least the eastern half of the Midwest, like when you say what's up to somebody and you give them dap, I don't know if dap is like slang or like when you give them when you shake their hand, but you shake their hand informally, but like you're not doing like a business shake, you're doing like a grip, right?
Yeah.
People from like Cleveland, Detroit, I would assume Chicago too, like you grip and you snap at the end, right? But of course, people in Florida don't do that.
That entire
That's
thing would be lost on me.
but Latin people they'll just like slap it and they may like hit like that, right? And that's how they informally like give grip,
Okay.
right? And I
Giving
don't know.
grip is
So
something I've never heard of before. Like I've seen like people like well, I guess if I were to do that it would be a full like, grip and then like a maybe like a chest bump or something,
yeah, but you don't do like this. You just literally
No.
shake their hand and then you
Well,
give
no,
them
not
that.
like a shake hand, but it'd be like a full, like
Oh, yeah. So
grip
I
like
don't think
that,
I've
like
ever
a,
done that.
somebody's like this, and then the other person's kind of like, their hands the other way, obviously, where I don't know, but they
Yeah,
grab it the
that's.
whole way.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That's different to me too.
Yeah,
But
huh? But yeah, maybe it is like a regional thing or a cultural
and
thing.
and sometimes like I'll try to give grip to somebody that I haven't seen in a while or whatever, and their hand like is slippery and like
And you're like,
I feel gay. I'm like, yo, we got to do that over again. And I literally do that. I'm like, yo, that didn't feel right. Like we got to take
there's
two.
nothing worse than
All
so
right,
like
cool.
so I have kind of freakishly small hands and don't read into that. But so doing a business handshake is extremely difficult for me. It's an actual like something I have to consciously try to think about if I'm trying to shake anybody's hand to give any sort of firm, because otherwise I come off as like their hand just dominates, and so my hand goes like this, and then I'm like, going like yeah. So I have to like
Yeah.
constantly like hold my hand with as much power as I can in a shape until I get it locked in and can grab,
So
and
you
then
literally have to prepare to
I
handshake.
have to prepare to handshake, otherwise
Yeah.
it's going to be a mushy, wet mess. And I've given those wet mess, weak handshakes, and I feel like shit afterwards.
Well, at least during the COVID, you haven't had to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's the benefit of like my current job. Everything, all the interviews, everything was remote. I've never been there. I've never met anybody from that place. So I never had to try to wet noodle somebody's hand before. But man, I tell you, it's a
It feels
sucks.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
if you
like
can't give a solid shake, it's
it
a
feels feminine.
no.
Like
I don't know if it's
I feel feminine.
maybe, but
I
yeah,
feel like
maybe.
I was. Yeah, I just feel like I was like. Yeah, it doesn't feel right. Like it
Yeah,
has to be corrected.
yeah. That's it. I've literally a couple times been like, oh, let's do that again because I don't want that to be my handshake. So, but man, yeah, it's But would I care about handshakes if I was a hermit? Probably not. So, just whatever.
I'm strongly considering going to the Bahamas tomorrow morning. I just I just don't want to pay $100 to take an Uber to Fort Lauderdale. Like a lot of
Drive
people
your
say,
vehicle.
Scott, look at how much money you make. I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm like a Jew. Like I like saving money. I don't like spending money. Like I don't.
Drive your car. Drive your car down.
Oh, I still gotta pay for parking.
Oh yeah, I don't know how much parking is. Probably a lot.
It's probably gonna be like $30 or $35 a day.
Yeah. Hmm.
Then like even when yeah, I mean
Dash it at a Walmart. And...
I mean to be fair, I could park it somewhere residential that's like maybe 15 minutes away and then catch an Uber from there. But that would mean that
could come back and it could be towed.
yeah, like so in Cleveland you can't just park your car overnight. Like no, you can't because they'll take it. But in the residential area of Miami Beach, like you can park your car overnight. Like you're not going to get a ticket. In Cleveland, you can't. I think you can't have your car parked like past I think like 2 a.m. or something on a residential street.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to leave Florida, man. It's too expensive. Like,
Where are you gonna go though?
and, and like I've been working in the healthcare industry, so I can't like just go to Thailand and work because of like privacy or not privacy because of data governance like policies.
Hmm.
Like I would take my income and live in a third world country and do well for myself versus paying a mortgage for a crib that I rent. And it's getting old.
Yeah, I don't know where the cheapest cost of living in the United States is anymore.
It's probably Guam or well, you mean continental United States?
Yeah, continental. Cheapest states to live in
Detroit,
2022.
Flint,
Cheapest state
Buffalo.
to live.
In regards to state, it's either Mississippi, Alabama, or Michigan,
Trying to figure out if this is ordered by the
or
cheapest first or
or
not.
New Mexico, or basically any state that should be
Mississippi.
demoted into a territory, like North Dakota, South Dakota. Mm,
Mississippi's the cheapest state to live in, based on it's 17% lower than the national average. So then there's Alabama, Oklahoma, Georgia, Tennessee, Missouri, Iowa, West Virginia, Indiana. Dakotas don't even make the list, man. South Dakota is actually a fairly nice state if you hit the west side of it because it's actually semi-arid. My brother lives out there, so and then you got like the Black Hills and there's scenery and there's some culture, like not culture, but some like history out there with Deadwood and there's Sturgis and all that stuff too for biking and or bikers go there. So
I never hear about Maine. I never hear about New Hampshire. All those states should be demoted. It, like if
Rhode
they don't
Island,
have um
it's the smallest. It's a baby
what is
state.
what is Rhode Island the size of a large city
It's
or
probably
is
like
it
the
a
size
lot
of a
bigger?
county. I don't. I don't
But
know.
I've met people from Rhode Island, so that's okay. But I've never met anybody from Maine, New Hampshire, North Dakota, South Dakota, or New Mexico.
Oh, I've met
Basically,
plenty of
if
people from North Dakota because I lived right next to
yeah, yeah.
it.
But
It's just
basically,
maybe
like,
people are North Dakota. You don't meet them because they're happy where they're at. Hey, Gamlar.
hey, Gamlor, you guys are joining NATO. Be prepared. It's not a joke. It's a concern. So I forget. He's Sweden, right?
Sweden or Switzerland. I don't know.
Sweden or Finland?
It's one of the SW countries.
He tells me. I ask this question like every like
I know.
two
We got to
weeks.
write it on the board. We got to like
I thought
write
it
it
was
on a piece of
Sweden.
paper so you can go.
Switzerland. Why do I confuse Sweden with Switzerland?
Yeah, it's because it starts with an SW.
Uh,
Swoo, Witzerland.
the Switzerland border Sweden.
No, it's like in the
They're
was
really
it?
that different.
It's between like what is it? Germany, France, and Italy. It's kind of smack dab in the middle of the that whole Alps region or whatever, isn't it? I I'd have to look at a map to know exactly, but I
And
believe it's in the smack dab middle of Europe. So
I wonder how long that war is going to take. Because I think what Syria. I thought Syria took like what 5 years.
I don't know, man. Look at how long Afghanistan took. I don't know if German or I don't know if Russia's got the because they spent a long time in Afghanistan too, and they cut out earlier than I think we did. So yeah, yeah, in Austria. Okay, yeah, that's the other side of it. Switzerland has always just been like, you four countries can fight each other all you want. We're staying out of it. They just
Well,
like
don't
so there's a
almost
circle of war around them all the time.
yeah, but don't almost all of them get their energy from Russia?
Who, Switzerland? Probably, I don't
Yeah,
know, probably not.
I thought
Switzerland's kind of what I understand. They've got like a really cool system of government in terms of the way that it's all laid out. If you ever
what
read
because it's
anything,
telesocial.
if you ever read anything by, is it, this is Nasib Taleb, I think he talks about Switzerland's system of government and how it's kind of it's somewhat decentralized and anti-fragile. So, but
Oh, is that the author of the book,
yeah,
Anti-Fragile?
yeah, the author of the
Yeah,
book
I'll
Anti-Fragile.
listen to the audiobook.
Yeah, he talks about Switzerland and anti-fragile. I believe the system of government there and how it's like broken up into like
Oh,
regions and
I'm gonna
stuff.
have to
Yeah,
listen to that book again.
I never finished it. I got
Neither did
yeah,
I.
it's dense, so it's like
I
there's a
was trying to
lot he's
work.
throwing at you, and it's like you're
Uh,
talking about Switzerland now. You're talking about Fat Tony. What's going on? I don't know.
well, I used to try to work out to that book, and yeah, it was that book, and I used to try to work out to another book called Relentless, which was written by some like coach of Michael Jordan.
You gotta what was it? You gotta listen to that extreme ownership book while you're working out.
Yeah, you mentioned it like
It's a good
half a
one.
dozen times.
I actually want to re-listen to it. I've been just listening to like a hard rock or no hard rap or strength training rap station or something on Pandora, and so I haven't been listening to podcasts or books. But
I'm a nerd. I run to like so this morning before I realized that I had my masterminds, I was going to run to a software engineering radio podcast on Helm charts because I have no clue what Helm is, but it's
oh yeah,
disrupting where I work at, right? So I was like, what is this Helm? Let me figure out what this thing is about so I can have an understanding of why there's issues.
yeah, isn't Helm basically because somebody's presented at our work too. My understanding is it's like a way to graph out all the relationships between services so that you can pull them all down and run them like as one environment or something like that. I don't.
My understanding is that it's a package manager for Kubernetes.
Oh, that is totally different than what I'm understanding. Maybe it is. Maybe it is, but maybe the usage is different. I guess the application could be like people use nougat for something stupid and then they create a chocolatey. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. There's like just another new thing on the spectrum of I don't care about this unless I have
Well,
to care about this thing.
yeah, but I keep hearing about it. Like it keeps surfacing in conversations. I'm like, and I've been trying to ignore it, and it doesn't want to be ignored
Well, let's just look it up right now. Helm.
because apparently this is like something that is affecting like Azure pipelines.
Yeah, the package manager for Kubernetes. Okay. What is Helm? Get Helm. Get charts. Oh god.
Yeah, I don't even know what charts is.
Where's the like elevator pitch?
I'm all about serverless F containers.
Docs Home introduction. Quick start. Where's like the they need like every site like this needs to have a high level like why do I care about this section for people
Agree.
who just want to understand okay, what is Helm? Lets you manage Kubernetes applications, allows you to define, install, and upgrade and even the most complex Kubernetes application.
See that?
Yeah, charts are easy to create, version share, publish. So start using Helm and stop using copy and paste. Okay. I'm guessing it just solved a problem within the deployment space and just solved it very well.
F serverless. My preferred deployment is still a box where I have 100% control with assistance of a sysadmin who knows his stuff. With emphasis on assistance of a sysadmin. I don't want operations to be involved with me trying to make progress and get rapid feedback.
Yeah, I actually don't mind the idea of I really don't like DevOps type stuff. Like I want to write the code and I want somebody else who's specialized in all that infrastructure because it feels like it's two different. It does feel a bit like it's two different. Like I want the ops people because it feels like that's a different skill set. You know what I mean? Like why
It
do you have to
it
be
is.
an expert at software architecture and thinking about how systems connect and how to abstract things properly and how to properly, test and all this stuff. And then you also have to know like how to combine all that into Docker files and deploy and set up observability and to monitor and like it just
Yeah, but you don't have to do it into Docker files. That's just one technique.
well I know but then like and it changes so it's like oh they want you to do it this day now and it's like I just want to hand it off and be like here's the spec of what you need. Look at the app settings.json file, fill that shit out for me, go. Just go put it somewhere, please. I don't know. But I feel like if I don't get at least somewhat like more capable within the DevOpsy space, like you'll end up being like not as valuable.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I feel like writing decent code is a skill because I've seen enough bad code now that it's obvious like that you know there's an art in organizing things in a way that makes sense and are easier to maintain. And
Yep.
not everybody gets it.
Well, I could tell when people don't know. I could tell when people that write C sharp code haven't learned F sharp.
Well, yeah,
So,
because there's a grokking period where you write everything in F sharp like you do in C sharp probably.
well, that and like they mutate the hell out of they'll declare a variable and then they'll just keep assigning it different values within the method. And I'm
Yeah,
like
I don't
immediately
know why.
my mind captures it just like that because it just has an issue with it. But I'll just see them mutating so many things, and I'm like, why are you why are you pushing a new value into this? Did something happen? And if something just happened, why isn't that a separate value? Why are we like my OCD just starts going numb.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why they haven't introduced the const keyword on there. So they have var, right? And even JavaScript
There's
has
const in
const.
C sharp.
There's constants, global constants, but there's
Yeah,
no.
there's const.
You can't.
CONST.
Yeah. There's const at like a. But I'm talking about a const variable, like const x equals 10, and you can't mutate. You can't change the assignment of x at all. You can mutate the contents potentially if it's an object, but you can't mutate
You
x.
can't do that within the method.
No, no.
Well, they have the record type, right?
The
The
record type
record.
is an immutable type, but so if you do x var x equals, because you can't do const x equals, you can only do var x equals some new record. You can't mutate the contents of the record unless you make it mutable by exposing the properties. But you can assign, you know, any instance of that type to X or any instance of its, child types to X. So what I'm saying is like even JavaScript has the ability to say const X equals 10 and you can't change X to anything else. Like you can change the value of
Uh,
the 10 if it's a mutable like type, but you can't change the value of X. Like JavaScript has that. Like it seems to me so obvious, but there's probably some reason why they can't do it. Because
yeah,
I don't.
it's
It's
gonna
just
break things
like what
probably
though?
backwards. Yeah, I don't know. I'm almost positive they probably tried.
Yeah, there's got to be, or they could also just change it to something else that's like not const if they wanted to like, or add a qualifier that's like immutable var or something like that. Yeah, or something like that, where you can say don't mutate the heck out of this, just leave it. This is supposed to be a constant within this context, so don't change this. Like, but whatever. Or maybe they just feel like there's no need because it's so easy to create mutable things.
I don't know. It kind of drives me. It makes me uncomfortable. Like, cause I'll just like I'll just see code that I don't understand why we're mutating this thing so many times. It's not clear to me.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, it's highly likely that C sharp is the only language that they know,
Oh, yeah.
and that's why they don't have certain principles um, that they just naturally write out, or conventions that they just naturally use.
I mean, there's
Uh,
certain scenarios where it's hard to think about, like it's difficult to think about how you might accomplish something unless you get like like a total change in your thought process. It's difficult to think about how you would solve it, or to naturally come to how you would solve it without mutating a variable. Um, but yeah, but it's the same reason why, like you'll see a lot of C sharp developers, the exact, instead of using link, they'll use this exact pattern. Will be var new list of type C. 1 second.
uh,
1 second.
Gamma says, I used to debug my stuff in production. So all this F serverless containers adds a lot of layers of deception on what is happening. Uh, and when I have to debug in production, it's usually the moment when I really don't want to deal with this hidden stuff.
My daughter's bus is like 10 minutes early, and so she missed it. Stupid. Sorry about that. But anyways, what I was saying is you get this exact pattern where it's new list of some type, then you for each through another list, you do a mutation on it, or
Yeah.
like compute a new one, then put it into the list, and then you have the list at the end. And
I mean,
it's
and I
literally
used to
that's
do that.
select. It's like it's like take the for each thing, do select, and you're done. That's it. But there's a mental leap that people have to make. It's not obvious that that pattern matches, you know, reduces down to select. Um, so
I agree. I mean, one of the biggest revelations within the past 6 years um, was essentially everything could be accomplished in computing an answer using either map, filter, or reduce. And if we use the C sharp terminology,
and
select,
flat map,
where, and aggregate.
yeah, and select many. Select many is important too because that's required to make it like monadic or whatever.
No, I'm not hip to select many.
Well, it's
I'm still
so
not hip to monadic. I still, Odian has tried to explain to me a dozen times monads, and it's never registered
I
with
think
me.
so. It's a composition thing, right? So if you have it's something to do with like if you have a enumerable of enumerable, how do you make it just how do you flatten that to an enumerable?
Use concat.
An enumerable, you'd have to aggregate concat, right? I suppose that's
No,
how you'd have to do it.
if you have a a list of strings, no, if you have a list of strings, you find it out by using concat, right?
Yeah, but you'd have to do that in an aggregate call, right? So it's
Uh,
aggregate an empty enumerable of this and then concat each for each concat, basically. Yeah.
unless
So you could do
concat
that.
unless concat is a F sharp function and select many is a C sharp function. Maybe I'm confusing it.
But if you have like a many type, right? And you're trying, or not a many, maybe type, and you're trying to consolidate a function that returns a maybe into a maybe, you'll end up getting on a normal like select or a map, you'll get a maybe of something, but really you want to flatten that down into just one maybe, because
You
the
just
initial call won't work. So
you
there's
just
like a
reminded me of
composition
something.
problem.
You just reminded
One
me of
second.
something.
What's that?
I implemented a maybe in C sharp at work, and I don't I don't think it got merged in.
Oh, use a. You know what you should just use?
Can you tell
There's
I
a
think about work all the time?
Yeah. There's a library called one of, and I haven't made my own maybe types ever since I found that library. It's pretty straightforward. Um,
So it has a result type, a maybe type.
it's got one of, and that's it. But it has a bunch of pre-built other types in it too. So to produce a maybe type, you can say one of the actual type or none. So you got two generics. And then what you do is obviously you just do the dot value is this or that, and there's a match function and all that connected to it. Um,
Yeah, because I implemented a type called at least one, right? That has a head and tail. Um, yeah, they're like,
yeah,
no, we don't want you to use the F sharp. I'm like, okay, I'll just borrow the F sharp conventions and throw it in C sharp.
here it's a. I'll send you the link here. You can take a look at it. It's like I said, I've implemented my own maybe and result types before, but um, this just ends up solving that problem.
Is it is it a Microsoft sanctioned library?
No, it's made by some Harry
John,
McIntyre or something,
yeah, I can't use it.
but it's MIT licensed, so you can't use open source stuff.
I don't
You're using C Sharp's open source. So
within a highly regulated industry. I don't think security folks will just let me use John Doe's NuGet package.
well, you could literally just copy the code out and put it into your own damn thing then. But
You talking about like decompile it?
well, no, it's open source. You can just
Oh,
copy it
okay.
out. I mean, it's not a complicated thing. I just yeah, it's yeah, anyways. But the idea of using like this is a pretty, I think it's a pretty extensively used thing, and maybe not for this job, but if you ever have another job where you need to do it, let me just check it how much it's used here.
Have
How
you ever
many
debugged in
package
production,
downloads?
Sean?
Have I ever debugged in production?
Yeah, I'm looking at Gambler's comments about how he would rather do without both containers and serverless.
Yeah, I mean, I've somewhat. I don't know if I've run a debugger attached to production before, but I've been maybe involved in it. Um, but that would have been back in the days when, um, like we'd have. Why isn't freaking NuGet package manager popping up here? Um, that would have been back in the days when I was like looking at VMS code, open VMS stuff. So, man, I liked VMS. I gotta. I should
Holy crap! I
rebuild it, but
forgot. I got some Papa John's in the fridge. I'm gonna smash that for breakfast.
oh,
I
okay.
just remember. I just got excited.
Papa John's. Man. We used to have a Papa John's in town. We don't have it
Ordered
anymore.
2 large pizzas last night. I was watching John Simez today.
Oh yes. Sorry. I've reached the answer I was looking for. So there's 3.74 million downloads of one of. So
Oh wow,
it's
okay.
a pretty extensively used library. So even though it's Joe Schmoes, it's not Joe Schmoes without a following. So, but anyways, yeah. Two big pizzas, man.
I smashed one box last night.
I could have. I'm gonna. I bought some steak. I'm gonna make a steak and egg and burrito after stand up this morning, and then I'm gonna try to eat light the rest of the day for because I don't want to be all filled up for a marathon tomorrow, half marathon.
So like simple programmer. Now I could have sworn they had like 100,000 subscribers. and now it's like 26,000.
He got canceled, man, and but he also hasn't put out very good content in a while on that channel because he's not a developer anymore. So, you know,
Yeah, he's been re-uploading videos to it from like several years ago.
repurposing.
What's up, guys? John
Oh,
Thomas
that's
here
not
with
true.
simpleprogramming.com. Today, I want to talk about 3 simple tips that you can use for understanding code better. If you're a beginning developer, if you're working in an existing code base and it's complicated and you feel like you're in
Oh,
over
he's
your
selling
head
this book.
and you want to know like how can
Mm-hmm.
you understand the concepts and how can you understand this code base, that's
Do
what
you
we're
ever
going to
do
cover
anything with
in this
Dapper at all?
video.
No.
Okay, or not Dapper. There's Dapper the uh, ORM, but there's also Dapper DAPR, the distributed application runtime.
No, I stay away from anything outside of Microsoft because I'm a .NET developer.
I think Dapper is Microsoft, but it's a
Must have been acquired. I'm hardcore .NET internal developer. I'm all
well.
about Windows.
This is like a sidecar pattern thing. It's like a so it's like the idea is you deploy a along every service that you deploy, you also deploy this sidecar like Dapper. So you deploy 2 containers for every deployment or every whatever. And what happens is your primary, your service actually just talks to this sidecar application, and it manages all of the connections out to the rest of the world. So you essentially, what my understanding is, you reduce all of your interactions down to just simple HTTP REST calls or gRPC calls back and forth, and that's it. So if you're doing message consumption subscriptions, you would call out to your sidecar to say, "Hey, go listen for these things, and when you get something, call me back on this HTTP request endpoint," and it'll just set up a
Webhooks.
subscriber. And well, yeah, it's like a webhook, but this would be if you're like receiving, you know, messages off of Kafka or Rabbit or Microsoft, whatever. They have different bindings for it. Um, I know this is like the one bit of new technology I'm really kind of interested in because um, I like the idea of setting up like all of that infrastructure crap that you have to deal with as a separate application that I don't have to manage. So like I hate the idea that I have to build out connections up to or use a library that's really dense to connect up to, let's say, Kafka to read a stream. But if I could just write a API that says, hey, when you get something, call this endpoint, um, and just call out to this sidecar and say, just go do this. Like that would be, I think that would be ideal. So
You said this is called Dapper?
yeah, I'll shoot you. I think it's Microsoft. It's either Microsoft managed or it's Microsoft adopted. But the idea too is that you can set up this sidecar for because you're using protocols that most languages have built in. You can set this up for any like thing. You could write a Python app, you could write a C# app, you could write a whatever, and all you have to do is know how to talk to the one sidecar, and then you have access to the rest of the. Well, I guess it's also called the ambassador pattern, um, but I don't know. It's the one bit of new technology I'm really interested in taking a look at. So screw Helm charts. This is much more interesting.
Gambler says, I don't mean running the actual debugger, but look at the memory pattern, sockets, usage, network usage, heap dumps, etc. Oh, you're
Yeah,
low level.
we had some issues around Black Friday last year where people were doing that, and I was just like amazed. I'm like, yeah, I don't even know what I would be looking for there, thread counts and all that jazz. And I'm just gonna write my code so it doesn't do that shit in the first place, and then I don't have to worry about it. Nah, I'm just kidding.
I Gambler, I thought you wrote Scala. Is Scala still like even used? Do they still do greenfield projects in Scala? I don't think they do, man. I thought he said, maybe, I could be confusing him with somebody else. Have you ever seen anybody tweet about Scala, Sean?
Yeah, I don't have very many.
Recently?
Mm, no, probably not. But I haven't seen much recent tweets about anything else either. And plus, I tend to follow people in the .NET space, so
Just had to do this last week for a Heroku service, and the Heroku magic didn't help. Have to do what? The debugging and production? I shouldn't be talking about that. Oh, okay. I guess I need to wrap. I don't want to work
yeah, I'll
today.
let you go get your. Can you take a mental health day?
Is there an official day for that?
I don't know. Some people do.
They should have a mental health month, and then we all just go to like Bangkok or something.
I think I'm gonna sign up to like give a topic on like we have these like every Thursday we have these like 15-minute talks. I think I might sign up to do one on Dapper, and then that'll force me to actually go and learn it.
Scala isn't as attractive as it used to. All right, so it's not just me. I hear less people chanting Scala now. All right, that makes me feel better because I almost invested in learning it, and I was like, F sharp. What's his name? Who's the author of F sharp? Um, Don Stein. He did a really good job designing that language based on its competitors. Man,
Which language?
F sharp. Like
Oh,
Don Stein did
yeah.
a really good job designing. Like I looked at Scala.
Did a
I'm
really good
like,
job stealing OCaml syntax and applying it to .NET.
well, I don't know anything about OCaml.
Isn't F sharp is just OCaml based, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think it's a derivative. Yeah,
It's like C is to C sharp as, or C++ is to C sharp as OCaml is to F sharp.
and Scala is still on the adventurous language as they don't care about backwards compatibility as most. Oh yeah, because Scala had like Scala 3.0 that was called it had its own like name to it. I forgot what the name was.
And I still want to go back and learn more Elixir though. I think that language is fun.
Yeah, I used to listen to a podcast on it, and then it just stopped. They will break stuff if they think they can improve some core concept. Yeah, Scala 3.0 was Dottie, yeah. And Dottie is officially like released. Like I think I bought a book on it, but it's like again, I'm biased, but like F sharp is I feel like it's just less code, better pattern matching. It's just I don't know, it's just more concise, terse, and it's probably unfair. I did try to learn Clojure. And Clojure is cool, it's very different because everything's about maps, but I just didn't understand how to like design upfront with Clojure via like domain modeling without a compiler. Like that, I understand like you use the REPL, but it was counterintuitive to me based on what I was used to. And so I tried, I think, for like 6 weeks and I tapped out.
I wonder if anybody's tried to build a fully functional like a. God, I hate the name functional because it's functional and then there's contextually there's two meanings to that, but and then basic, the programming language basic. I wonder if anybody's ever tried to build a variant that is purely functional. I think I'm gonna take this.
Hey, see ya.
All right. Yep. See ya.
All
All right.
right.
Have a good
Bye,
week.
Gambler.
Oh,
Take
I
care.
won't be on next week then, so because I'll be out.
All right.
All right. See ya. Bye.
Bye. All right, Gambler. Take care. Bye.